Yes, thanks for that, Nick. And well, you're very right in stating that there's many ways to map processes, obviously, but at the same time, we're very proud that we are the common denominator for the presentations of today. And therefore, I'm more than happy to say a few words on well what that engaged platform is, or at least what we aim to do, basically. And that would apply to us, but typically it would apply to a lot of well reasons and ways to map processes. I think, but what we set out to do, at least, or what we set out to support our users with, is we like everybody to be able to explore processes with teams. So the mission is to involve operational staff in discussing their work and mapping their processes at the same time, making it easy for them to understand what processes should look like or look like in the organization. And the bottom line for that is that you want to reach operational control. You want to get a grip on how services are delivered within your organization, because that would form the basis of your cost reduction program or your digital transformation program or your compliancy program or anything you'd like outsourced. And the wonderful thing is that that works. We're a Dutch-based company. We have over 250 Dutch councils working with us at the moment. But a couple of years ago, we stumbled almost by accident into the UK and started. Well, we opened a small version of Engage Process there as well. And at this point in time, I think it's over 70 councils that are using us for a ton of different reasons, which is perfect, because that's exactly what we aim to support everybody with. So if for one organization it's about operational efficiency, for another it might be to communicate change to operational staff, and for a third person it's the basis of RPA or digitization of processes or the information in processes. It can be mean a lot of different things. And the reason I think why we are successful in supporting that is that we try to build a bridge between all that stuff that typically aims to support the specialist but isn't available or understood lower in the organization, and all those things that are widely understood and available but typically aren't powerful enough to support you with the RPA projects that you're running. So in between, there was a lot of room, I feel, for us to operate, and well, that's the room at least we try to occupy. Trying to move. Oh yeah, I was going to say, this is not something that we figured out ourselves. What we built is basically based on all those principles around process management, whether it's lean, operational excellence, theory of constraint, strengths. It has many names, but all of it says the same thing. It's about work, so it's about team. It's about the people carrying out that work, and it's about who you deliver that work, who you organize, who you deliver that service to. So the customer journey is incredibly important, and if you can make that as tangible as possible, then you can start improving it as well, or automating it, or whatever reason you may have. Be mindful, though, the process that is run today isn't going to be the process that is or how it's run tomorrow. So upkeep that process and review that process every now and again. And we have the wind in our sails a little bit, because what we see happening is traditionally this is how organizations would be run. You have objectives, and objectives are achieved by projects, and there's going to be a ton of projects to do with compliance or transformation or efficiency. And goals may conflict, but that doesn't really matter, because there isn't any central control. And leadership therefore is spread, and budgets are spread. And the thing they have in common, though, is that they all have an impact on work. So from the employee's perspective, typically it's sometimes a little bit vague on which project takes priority, and where can I spend my time best, and well, are I still servicing the customer to the best of my abilities, or am I just busy doing projects? And more we see that organizations want to be more process centered, or instead of project based, process based. And the thing around having processes at the center of your organization is that if something changes in one of these projects, the impact on that change immediately is apparent in your process, but obviously the impact of that process for other projects will become apparent as well. That's typically the basis for process management within your organization, and that has a lot of benefits, but obviously all those benefits are idle if you don't involve the people, if you don't involve operational staff, because at the end of the day, they need to be aware of the change and how to carry out that change within your organization. With us, that's packaged in a platform consisting of a lot of different modules. That's enough for today. The thing is, you can obtain or achieve a lot of different objectives, and therefore you can include a lot of different departments within your organization around process management and around processes and the benefits that may bring. And some of these will probably be mentioned today, but well, not all of them. If you're ever wondering and want to learn more, please let us know, or let Nick know, or let somebody you know that knows Engage, and you'll find us, and we'll explain further. That's all I wanted to share, but at least hopefully give some context as to where Engage sits in this whole story of today.
Thank you, Dick. Interesting selection of
Right, we got what we call purple bags, or as Nick says, nappy recycling. We've introduced this a few years back, and I was asked to look at our processes to see how we could refine some of our process, which was heavily paper-based and manual. So if I just share my screen, and then we can go through how we used Engage and what improvements we made with that. Nick, I can't seem to share for some reason. It's not allowing me to share. Oh, hang on. There you go. Well, it is now. Screen, yeah. It's just a share. Right. Okay. 2 seconds. It's gone really slow. So can everyone see that okay now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. So we use Engage process mapping. First of all, I mean, we used to use Visio many years ago, and we moved over to Engage some time ago. I just find as a business analyst, it's much easier to use, and the icons, I think, mean far more to our users than Visio ever did. So it's easier to work with, and visually just a lot better. The icons, you can see here that we have uploaded some of our own icons. You can make it personal to your own process, and that can change as well depending on your process, and you can upload anything that you require. So first of all, for this one, for the nappy recycling, we sat with staff, as you would, mapped out the current process. We could see that there was, apart from our online form, which we created initially for the customer, everything after that was manual. So there was no digital aspect to it after the online application form came in. So there was a lot of handover, a lot of Excel spreadsheets. Everything that held our customer database was in an Excel spreadsheet. All our rounds, our collection dates was in an Excel spreadsheet. All our delivery lists was in our Excel. It was literally a print off. Anything that went out to the customer to tell them when their collection day was, the rules and regulations, that was all paper-based. There was a lot of printing, a lot of postage. So what we did then, let me just bear with me a second. We'll move this one over. So from looking at our as-is process, we could see that our current challenges, even though we had an online form for the customer, the rest of the process, as I said earlier, was just paper and manual. So it was heavy paper-based process, a lot of staff handling throughout that process. Registration on managed in Excel, collection days were recorded in Excel spreadsheet. So it was a lot of work to maintain that. We had no visibility really of any miscollections and anything that had really gone on. So then we started looking at how we could improve our 2B. And again, using what tools we had available and Engage process mapping, we were able to come up with basically a fully digital end-to-end process using our waste services system and the tools we had in-house with our current developers. We were able then to start mapping out that journey. of how the automation would look. What Engage also allowed us to do is to also calculate the cost difference between the as-is and to-be process. So we do have an ability to analyse and compare two different data sets. So if I look at my as-is and to-be, you can actually see the difference in process time. In this one, because it was one we did early stages, we didn't actually include the paper at the time, but now you can also include the paper and postage cost to that. So any other fixed costs, you can also add in now, but it wasn't in this particular process at the time. So you can see even without adding that in, we've already made the massive reduction in the as-is and the to-be. So, oops, sorry. Where's my presentation gone? So you can see there that, you know, the amount of steps within our as-is process map, and then our proposals then were to utilise our routeware, our routeware system to make that a more digital register. Integrate our online forms. We looked at what APIs were available with routeware for us to push the information directly into that system. We use an APIs to integrate requests for bags, so that again goes directly into our system, and update any miscollections. So looking then at the back office system routeware also has an in-cab device, so we utilize the in-cab devices. So all of our collections go straight to the man in the van, and they're able to mark any miscollections or any issues with contamination, etc., directly from the van. So there's no need for any paper at all anymore. And as you can see there, the to-be process. Oh, I don't know what I've done there. You can see the steps there, how much different that is compared to our as-is process. And then taking that into consideration, looking at our as-is and our to-be and Engage, what allowed us to do then is to ensure that our customers could self-serve, which we did have to a certain extent. But like I say, it was very heavy manual after that. Customers now had full information at the time of the registration, whereas previously they would make an application online, say they wanted to register, then we would have to send out a manual pack then, given all the information. Well, that would now allowed us, with the integration to routeware, to give all the information to the customer up front, so there was no need for any additional information going out. Quicker delivery of recycling bags, because going straight to the man in the van. Fully integrated routeware, end-to-end automation. So there's no manual intervention at all now from the customer going online to the delivery of those bags and the collection. So we knew then the benefits that would be cheaper transaction costs, reduction in paper costs and printing, and reduction in postage. And overall then, because we've automated that end to end, that allowed us to make a reduction of 2 full-time members of staff. So there was quite a considerable reduction for making that improvement. Obviously, I know as everything, we didn't actually get rid of those staff because we needed to utilise those elsewhere, so they were better realigned. 95% of our customers self-serve, 4% are through the telephone, and we get 1% on email. Currently, to date, we've got just over 10,000 subscriptions for our nappy recycling, and the as-is process and to-be, you can see there was considerable saving made per transaction costs. And again, you know, the Engage process tool allowed us to be able to streamline that process a lot more with the back office, because the visibility of the Engage process and how easy it is to utilize that. So they're able to see where those efficiencies can be made and the benefits of those as well. So we don't tend to have so much of that restraint that we used to have before, where they didn't want to make that change. I mean, that has helped us quite considerably, because it is a lot easier to see where those efficiencies can be made.
That are using Engage Process Modeler. And I think you guys got it. It started, was it around your ERP project, was it?
Yeah, around 3 years ago, it must have been now, Stirling decided to take a jump and go through its biggest transformation and bring in an ERP system. So we could decommission individual systems and different silos within the council. So we're really changing the way we were working as a council along with the culture. Originally, we were introduced to Engage by an external consultant, Esther Stewart of Gun Stewart Solutions, who's Glasgow-based, introduced us to it. And from there, it's naturally the first step of, or my module in implementing a CRM was, let's look at the processes we have, how can we improve them, where can we get some, cost savings, where can we free up resource, etc. So it was really Esther who introduced it to us, initially showed us how to use it, how we can get the benefits from engaging with our services and building the processes that we want to build for them. And that was a huge selling point for Stirling. When we're engaging with our services, probably like many other councils, there's a lot of people that's opposed to change, especially when it's major changes. So mapping out a process for our services where they could physically see the steps in an icon kind of formation really got them on board initially to work with us so they can understand this is how the process works, and this is the type of money we're spending on this process. And we were working very much back in the Stone Age, a lot of manual intervention, spreadsheets, emails between customer services and waste, for example, which leads to a lot of time wasted, a lot of resource wasted. Human error becomes a huge part of that, and ultimately, we don't fulfil the promise that we want to our citizens in some situations. So the service is really bought in to engage along with us. It also helped our implementation partner understand the type of process that we want to build, what are our objectives in bringing in this ERP and CRM system, which was really helpful for them to go away and develop that and, come back to look for continuous improvement. So I'll give you an example of one of the ones that we've done. It's unfortunately it's not in relation to nappies. I've got here a garden waste permit process. Now, if I share this, I hope this is visible for everyone.
See it down the bottom.
So this,
Brilliant.
So this was our as-is process for garden waste permits. I'll zoom in a little bit. Now, I won't walk through it all, but the major points in this is that, as I mentioned, it was very manual intervention, as we can see here from the point of channel access, whether it was online or telephone. We're doing manual searches to find addresses, for example. If there wasn't a UPRN attached to an address, that then had to go away to a different team to, investigate it, apply it to the customer services, having to then phone the customer back. So, you could phone for a garden waste permit and, sorry, we'll need to phone you back in a week's time once this is resolved, which isn't a great experience for anyone. Further into the process, we can see a lot of emails then being presented, customer service emailing details to the waste team. They then had to manually input the permit details or the bin details into the old CRM, which was Kodo or Lagan. I can never remember which one. There was two at the time. For that, there was no real integration built in between the current CRM systems, the current waste supplier system, which is Web Aspects. So it then moves on to our waste teams having to manually then go to Web Aspects to say this citizen wants a new permit, they want a particular bin sent to them, which caused a lot of issues in that area at the time due to resource constraints. So they couldn't get the resource to go to other mandatory work because of so much manual intervention in this particular process. And a major fault in those processes is once the permit had been processed, that's went to the customer, etc., it was just the end of the process. So we still have open service requests in our CRMs that went nowhere, even though it was complete, which then caused major backlogs of open service requests, which technically were completed because there was no integration, etc. Nobody really knew the true status of it, and it just caused pure chaos, to be honest. So comparing those steps of manual intervention, spreadsheets, emails to different services, to our 2B process, the first thing that you can notice straight away is all the different icons of a CRM, and that's us, getting rid of that manual intervention. This is, a complete end-to-end digital process where it will sit in a waste queue in our CRM system purely for visibility. Waste no longer need to get involved. They don't need to log anything. They don't need to send emails. They don't need to go in and close a case. All they get is visibility should they need it. And this was the major selling point to our services, showing them this compared to the as-is process. I'm positive at one point the lead for our waste services is literally asking, well, what do we do? Where do we get involved? And the simple answer is, well, you don't, unless the customer wants a bin delivered. That's the only point that you're getting involved in this process. So we're freeing up their resource that was spending so much time emailing different services, inputting data to the waste supplier to say we need a permit, we need a bin, which allowed that resource to go into other mandatory work, which was huge. As I mentioned earlier, they were having some resource constraints within the services. So this was the major selling point for them, showing them all this manual intervention is taken away. And it's something they've never really had in Stirling Council. I still say I'm fairly new to local government. I've been here for about 3 years now, but before being in the financial sector, coming into here into an organisation that, in my opinion, as I said, was working in the Stone Age. We didn't have process maps, so it was difficult for me to come in and understand a local government, understand local government processes without that visualisation. Before, like many others here, it was Visio that we used, and it's a very unappealing tool. You don't get the same engagement. 9 times out of 10 you get bored looking at it and reading it, in my opinion, compared to this, where it's laid out in a better format. You've got the visuals of what the next step is in the process, and that way we captured and kept engagement from the services who ultimately wanted to push on and implement what we had designed and engaged for them. Due to those aspects. I don't have available to me at the minute the analysis at the back of this. It was a successful implementation and the transformation of the ERP in Stirling Council. On this particular process, from memory, this saved us 2 FTE, similar to Lisa's, and it was a cost saving per process of about £3.64. So that went back into other work for the waste services, and it moved its direction in the web aspect. So it linked in with CRM. They've got in-cab devices. So if there is any other waste processes of missed bin, garden waste permit, etc., it can all be done within an in-cab device via the waste services when they are out en route. And that was a huge benefit to that as well. We do have other process maps to show how the CRM and these processes for the CRM link in with waste. So it takes away more manual intervention from their administration staff, from their team leaders and supervisors, and gives the ownership to those who are out and about, out in the field, conducting these processes as well. So in our experience, using Engage, it's a fantastic tool. It is now the sole process mapping tool within Stirling Council. We no longer use Visio or anything else. It was quickly adopted in the rest of our ERP transformation projects. So finance, HR, procurement, IT adopted it, so they could do a similar thing to what we've done here in our CRM. And so far, it's been great. Even though we've implemented the ERP system, there's we're on a long route of continuous improvement. So we've created a transformation team who are the administrators and maintenance behind these maps will link in with services, or services will link in with us essentially on any changes. So we can go back to, okay, let's go back to square one of that process. What is the change we're looking to make? Let's see how it works. Let's see what the analysis is behind it if we make this change. So we've got a huge engagement going forward with all our services to show them the benefit via these maps.
Excellent. Thanks, Colin. I really enjoyed that. And it's also the use on a number of occasions of that sort of capturing the engagement of the service, because I'm still a big fan of the fact that by using engaged process and mapping the as is and the to be, you can start internally communicating the benefits of change before the change takes place.
Yeah.
And before you start you know, what can be in some cases a very expensive, time-consuming project, by mapping out and using the as is and the to be for internal comms, you can identify blockers, barriers. You can, again, it sounds like, you know, you're getting people enthused in change prior to change taking place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest hurdle alongside, you know, implementing an ERP is changing the culture of somewhere where a council's worked a certain way for so long.
Yeah.
People doing, you know, the one job for so long that they're not that welcome to change until you can show them the benefits, and showing them the benefits and engage compared to any other process mapping tool that I've used has, you know, been second to none and really got everyone on board, and not on board just to get the ERP in place, but continue improving their services after the ERP has been put in place as well.
Brilliant. Just a quick question, and then I'm going to get off the chat, then ask Lisa, and then Lisa's going to come in. But Sarah's asked, how long did it take you to create that last process map, assuming you knew the steps already?
Well, I didn't know the steps already. Number of workshops with waste services along with other services and dependent on the process. So the first workshop was maybe about an hour and a half long, and that was just to understand what is your process just now. We then went away as a CRM team to say, okay, where can we change and automate and improve this? So we went back with a proposal to the waste services of here's our suggestions and here are the benefits off the back of that. It probably took us, I'd say, the best part of 2 to 3 days to work with our implementation partner to get that map to where it was before we presented it back to them. So it was a quick hour, again, to an hour and a half second workshop with services to propose that to them. What seemed a long time, but you know, a new CRM, a new ERP where we don't understand or fully know its capacity or how it works. So it took us a little bit of time, a couple of days or so to work with the implementation partner to understand where we can really make benefits on it.
Excellent, thank you.